This meeting will be recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 and through the town website at eastham-ma.gov. Disclaimer has been read.
Let's get to the first order.
Yeah, you wanna move to?
I move we approve the meetings notes from November. Is that Alicia?
Yeah.
I got your forks.
Oh, great. We actually showed up on this past weekend and grabbed some forks.
Oh, okay. You have enough?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bring them back tomorrow.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much. Sorry,
Sorry we haven't had meetings for so long. It's just like, yeah.
That's okay. I'm contagious, so I'm gonna stay home.
All right, we have a quorum, so I move that we approve the November 26th, 24 meeting notes.
Second.
Everybody?
Yeah, approved.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Okay, and then just an update, yeah, we didn't have a December meeting, we didn't have a couple things in the line, and so just unfortunately, we weren't able to make it happen, no big deal, we're here now. What we were gonna only do during that meeting anyway was a year-end review. Surprise, surprise, I did it anyway. It's actually was already submitted this morning, I think I handed you, oh no, I didn't hand anything, I'll read it, do you want me to read it, or do you just guys wanna?
Should probably read it so everybody's
Yeah, I'll read
caught
it.
up on what we're talking
Okay,
about.
so the annual report for 2024, the recycling committee welcomed new co-chairs in May, along with the addition of one new non-voting member. The committee continued our focus of educating residents about the importance of a circular economy, which is just a slight change from last year's verbiage. We began accepting compostables.
just a comment that, I also started last year.
You did?
Correct, well,
Yeah,
Sorry.
good. Just, I mean,
yeah, you're right.
Just if
I
you
think
wanted
you're a
to-
voting member. That's the difference.
Yeah, you're a
I'm
voting
still,
member.
yeah,
He's still a non-voting member.
I understand that, but I thought it was kind of a
Well,
summary
we
of
had
new
somebody
members.
left too, so while it technically is two new members, I was more counting.
Okay,
one,
I got it.
yeah,
Okay.
rather than worried about that,
No
okay.
worries, keep them honest.
We began accepting compostables at the transfer station, 2 containers so far, but the program has been successful and is popular. We also worked with the Eastham Police to request barriers to create a safer environment, control traffic, and swap shop. The biggest events, we did the Eastham Center on Aging Wellness Fair, where we did some surveys and educated on composting and things like that. Then we had that single-use plastics forum, which was a small panel of 3 local business owners. And they took questions and the efforts in removing single-use plastics from their waste streams, et cetera, and so forth. And then we had about 30 people in attendance there, and we also collected surveys. And then we did Windmill Weekend, of course, which we used as an opportunity for being educational with some of our new branding, and some of our new stuff. And then also, again, more circular economy composting information. And then I did a little blurb summarizing like what we're focusing on now. The recycling committee has renewed its focus on the swap shop at the transfer station. The swap shop is a valuable resource, and we would like to exemplify the principles of the circular economy by diverting materials from the solid waste stream. We have requested a small budget and a container for storage of larger items in preparation for a building change, along with a small dumpster to track what we're actually diverting in 2025. The committee also continued to work closely with the administration and DPW staff to monitor the amount of recyclable materials diverted and our solid waste stream at the transfer station. Now, some of that entails a meeting I had that I would have probably talked about at the last meeting as well, which I had a meeting with Jackie Beebe, where I gave her this letter, although the letter was never given to her, I had to give her again. And I presented this concept of a new swap shop as well, to try to get possibly a small budget. I requested about $3,000 a year, just for, again, containers, shelving, things like that. New carts if we need them, safety equipment if we need it, signage if we need it. Just they have no way, if they want something, they either have to buy it themselves and then, or hope it comes into the swap shop. So I thought a small yearly budget would help us do that, and then the container would increase what we could sort of already sort through. For instance, we have a Christmas section in the swap shop. I'd like to make that a holiday section, but there's nowhere for the Christmas stuff to go. That can change if we get a small container and put it in the container and it's just closed off until Christmas and we put it back out, or Halloween or Easter or any holiday like that. So just some small things to sort of assess. And then I wanted to get a small dumpster I asked for to track. When we don't, get rid of something in the waste stream, how much is it? We don't know. It goes into the dump like everything else, so we don't track it. So if we had a small dumpster, we could then track it. And as you can see, one of the containers could be used to build the swap shop as an entire space, like which would then alleviate infrastructure costs. Like a building is about 40 grand, a little more than that, actually way more than that, depending on how you build it. While 2 containers is like less than $10,000.
Quite a bit less, actually.
And they don't reuse them, so it's recycling in itself, like we're taking something that's not used a second time and we're recycling it to make it into something else.
Cool.
So that's kind of the concept I pitched. It seemed to be well received, she did not give me any definitive answers other than the town already has containers. And we may be able to just get one without any cost to ourselves. So that's where kind of things have been left off, but in the meantime, that was the meeting I had and.
Now, we should talk about the other meeting. Prior to this, because I don't think we've had a meeting since, Andrew and I met with John Ruffley and Kate St. Elvin, is it?
Yeah,
To really talk tax about where we could set up, what movable parts are available, and the punchline is
For what?
for the swap shop. The punchline is that since the entire transfer station is gonna be doing a little jiggly dance because of the water treatment system, we cannot do any future planning, which also affects our ability to apply for grants. The first time I asked the transfer station for the rates that we got on our recyclables and all materials, it took months. So the first thing they gave me was what seemed to be a transfer station sort of short list of what was routed. What I noticed at the bottom is that there now seems to be an official delineation for swap shops as an actual tool to reduce solid waste, which then invites us to apply for permits. Excuse me, not permits, but for grant money. The problem is, I think you need to use any grant money within the same calendar year. If we can't move the swap shop, we're basically frozen. We have perfect future plans. So all we are asking the town for at this point is to put up some of those barriers so that Chief Bohannon doesn't worry about people getting driven over when they're shopping outside. And a storage container so that we can offload stuff and actually store it to the right season. You know, as in Christmas stuff, Easter stuff, all the summer stuff we get, all the porta cribs, all the extra stuff that's applicable for summer and not for any other time. At this point, we throw it away. We have 2 small storage units in the back of the swap shop. One holds the tables and the display information stuff, and the other one is what, a 3x3 box. We don't put much in there. So that's what we're asking for in the short term. We're a little frustrated at our ability to not do anything.
Yeah.
Going forward. We also, you talked to Jody, excuse me, to Jackie about the glass stuff to sand and about scaling up compost.
yeah, I talked to her about all of these things. My focus at the time was on the swap shop, but yeah, I mentioned them as like larger plans of part of what we're doing with the climate action committee. I haven't gotten there yet, we're jumping kind of way ahead, but yeah, that's part of more what the climate action committee is already doing.
Wonderful. I have to say, the energy around the swap shop is wonderful. I mean, it's the more attention and energy around it that's happened in a long time.
Well,
And
my
I think that alone is credible.
and
Yeah.
my big plea to Jackie was, this is because Eastham doesn't have a CBD, a central business district, where there's like businesses and like even like a small strip mall where there'd be people can park, and there's nothing like that. We have the Windmill Park, which again doesn't really act as a community hub because there's nothing next to it other than the superette, or there's no place. So by default, the swap shop has become the hangout spot.
Yeah.
And as a result, it is become a bit of a community hub. So I'm more or less just saying, let's take that and steer into it instead of saying like,
Great, yeah.
it's already, I mean, because of what it is, we can file for any kind of grants that mention recycling centers. Essentially, it's the Massachusetts equivalent to a recycling center. Ideally, we can expand that as well, those functions, and still fall under all of the things of the swap shop. But right now, it's just like, let's try to improve what we can. And then that way, when we have a container, at least if we need to decide, hey, they want to move us, we can pack it in and move
Yeah.
all in one go. There's no like extra, because the town has the ability to move the containers. And the town has the containers, in theory. You know, they may not have one for us, they may have to get us one, but they, in theory, handle them, they have some in inventory.
The other issue as far as a future building is Jackie pointed out to, by the way, this is the meeting I missed because I had COVID, so I decided not to come in and infect everybody. The trailers, the portable classrooms that the school district bought for the high school so that they could have classes while all the construction was going on, are apparently owned by the school district and or the town. As such, a lateral transfer of one or two of those, because they
They wouldn't
contain,
be owned by us, they would be owned by Nauset.
be that as it may, it will supply a building with heating and cooling. It'll supply a building with probably a handicap ramp. And that solves a lot of our problems for a new building. So if we can affect that kind of transfer, or the town buys it from Nauset, whatever anybody wants to do. But all of this is a whole lot cheaper than any kind of building that we priced out.
Yeah,
If we put,
it's also recycling in the greatest form, because we're taking something that now no longer has a use and we're assigning it a use. The challenges to that is we have to get them to sell us just one, because we don't need all of them.
no,
And they may only want to sell them as a group because they are sort of a grouped item. That's the challenge with that we're.
so anybody with any juice with the school district?
I think that they're looking to try to sell it right now to another building project for another school district.
Yeah, I figured that.
That's how we purchased them. They came from another school district that finished construction.
That's still recycling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if we could peel off one of them, that would really make things much smoother. You know, we have plans to put two shipping containers together and cut out some windows and dealing with heating and cooling, but if we can get a classroom trailer like that, that would solve a good part of the problem.
How many of them are there?
9.
I didn't know there were that many. Yeah. Have any idea what they paid for?
No, and since it's not an Eastham thing, it's not like we can just be like, we want one and like talk to the right person, because you're talking to a different town and a school district within that town that has them, but maybe even a contract. We don't know anything. It's just like something that was kicked around. I think if we had a location to stick one, it'd be an easier get, but right now we'd be like, hey, give us one to store for somewhere indeterminately, which is already a problem down the transfer station. So I wouldn't want to get too deep into trying to get one if we don't have a place to put it.
Okay.
We know that they want to move us to an exit location, so like we're gonna be on the exit of the transfer station. But originally we were told a building is gonna go where the transfer station or the current swap shop is, but that is no longer the case either.
How do you feel about the exit location?
I would prefer to be on an exit just because.
Because
right
we
now,
interfere with traffic flow for the normal function of the transfer
It
station.
also, people bring things to us and go like, will you take this so they don't have to drive 20 more feet? And if
Yeah.
we're on the way out, they won't do that. They'll bring us things they truly think are more worth it because they won't have to turn around and go back. At least that's the way I'm handling it in my mind. In the future, I'll just refuse those items and I'll have to take them home or come back around. And then that'll curtail it through, I think, just behavior, which would be easier than just convincing people. I think, just because they'll be like, well, I don't want to have to go back.
But the idea too is to expand the swap shop on the basis of building a larger community than it already is.
I would hope
So
so,
make
yeah.
it
I
into
mean,
as big a community as it can be.
in theory, if I had my way, like if you just said, I'll give you whatever you want if you have a good plan, my plan would be to build this building, this little small swap shop building. Have a secondary way to get into near the swap shop, not necessarily up to it, but like a secondary area, because there's nothing right there by the transfer station. And that would be more of like a community area that people who don't necessarily need to go to the transfer station to enter. They could just go to, there might be like a little outdoor area there that is involved where people could do demos of like, here's how you do composting, where we could do it outside in a controlled area. Then they could also be like I know the local tech school wants to do a repair fair where they have people bring broken items and they repair them. This would be a location for that as well, because
That's great.
indoor locations
That's
are
great.
hard to get traffic to, especially in Eastham, because then you're like, oh, let me stop at the library, or let me stop at this place, versus like I'm driving by and I can see it, and they go, oh, okay, well, there's a line, but there's this and there's that, and there's all these cars I can pull in, it's a little more interesting. Cars at a building parking lot don't draw you in, but cars in an open outdoor space will definitely draw you in. I mean, take the beaches, for example.
How
But
much,
again, that's just my vision of it, not anyone else's.
how
Oh.
much space is there
over there as you're exiting now.
A lot.
Well,
Where
there's
the
an,
textile bins are.
no, but,
Oh, yeah, not
there's,
there,
there's
no.
another space that
Yeah.
might be usable, which is that the thing that where all the agricultural waste goes now. They discovered very quickly that they can't necessarily compost it down to usable dirt for people because of all the invasives, which nullifies the whole thing. So it's sitting there and it's breaking down. Andrew's been investigating smaller digesters. If we can get a smaller, less scary number digester put over there, we can probably get some of that space back perhaps and be the last way out of the transfer station. It's all leveled and everything, but right now there's a pile that's, 3 times as big as this room that does nothing. So if we can compost with a
Digester.
thank you, small digester, we can actually, we can cut off, sending stuff to Black Earth at a fairly expensive price and actually do it ourselves and then give townspeople access to quality
Well,
dirt.
just as a first instance, the school uses 1,300
Oh,
pounds
right.
of food waste a week. Now they're using Black Earth as well. Now the school's green program, they're trying to get other people to sign up for Black Earth to get a discount for the school. My proposal is instead of wasting time getting people to use a service they don't want to use, we get a service running in the town and then offer it to neighboring towns like the school. Because everybody wants their dirt back. That was the big feedback from Windmill Weekend. I don't want to give you stuff if I don't get dirt back because I can do it in my yard and get dirt back. And that's a fair point. So unless we're going to offer something better, I don't think we have anything to offer other than the opportunity to not deal with the composting yourself through Black Earth.
And we can take in invasives.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but when I clear my yard of invasives, about the only thing that's safe to do is to burn it, once a year and wait around. If all that stuff can be diverted to the transfer station and turned into actual dirt, that's a plus.
Yes, but then again, that's kind of more on the next couple of points. So I talked a lot of stuff at a meeting with Jackie, but the Climate Action Committee would like to do a collaborative meeting with us and them to talk about the climate action plan, which again is the next 2 points really. So right now I have talked to Tom and we're talking about February. So if that works for everybody, we'll get a small subcommittee of our committee together and then we'll have it'll be probably 3 of us and 3 of them. I have to double check what I volunteered for. I think it was reactive climate action, which is things like recycling and things like that. Cause there's automotive and transport and then there's buildings and then there's the other things. And I'm more interested in that because that's kind of what we're doing now. So it would be more reactive, things we could do to adapt the town to the situation that we're gonna be dealing with. In some cases, it may be doing greener things. In some cases, it may be just accepting the reality of what's changing and do things preemptively to adapt to those problems. New climate changes we could be facing, because let's face it, we're a small community. We can make all the impact we want, but we're going along for the ride with everybody else. So some of that will be at some of those meetings as well. And then I already talked about the year-end review, so I won't go back over that. And then I want to talk about branding. We did some new branding this year. Is there anybody that has any other things we want to brand? We got that now that Lee's gone, we want to probably put a new poster up.
Yeah,
The
that's one
box.
of that was one of the topics.
Yeah, I was gonna say that kind of leads into communication, so we can start talking about that if we don't want to go back to any of these other previous points. If we're done with those points. Sure.
Are we do people bring any kind of furniture?
Yes,
Yes.
which is a
What do you
huge
do with
point of
Right now,
contention.
nothing. It sits sometimes if it's the right kind of furniture, but most of the time it goes to a furniture pile. One of the things I'd like to change with the container. Since I'm technically now I swore all my life that I would take charge of this container because had a previous problem with people just storing whatever the hell they felt they could store.
Yeah,
People that didn't even people that worked there, people that volunteered there would just store things.
yeah.
And then get stuck in a corner for years and take up space. So I said, I will take 100% responsibility for what goes in. So right now, it's gonna be very minimal. It's just gonna be mostly empty, but some furniture that comes in, I'd like to use. And that way we can store it, take a picture of it. And then we have it for if people want furniture, right now, I may just put up a freaking poster board and stick it in there, and we have these items in storage.
Mhm.
I don't know right now, maybe a website in the future, but for now, it's gonna be something rudimentary and stuff. But that's why I was a furniture.
And then we have to Bigfoot the transfer station because they clearly don't want it sitting there.
Yeah,
So they're in a great big hurry to push it over the wall, which upsets a lot of people, me included. So if we get space, once again, this comes down to space, to space, to space. We want to expand our footprint and what the throughput is and what it is, and it requires extra buildings, but not complicated. Shipping container would get us out of trouble.
yeah, logistical bottlenecks are all we're trying to fix right now, because it's not all we can fix.
Okay.
I eventually would like to increase our programs too, to like get items out faster.
Mhm.
But once we have some proper storage and can store the item, right kind of items, we can start to, because I'd like to work with charities, so that way, like, when we have like a set of plates and cups
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah,
if there's a charity that takes that, once we get 3 or whatever number we
Yeah.
designate, they
Yeah.
come and get them, and that's gone, and then that way there's no item that stays behind for a long time, because there was a couple points brought up in my meeting, and I don't wanna double back, but she did bring up that there's a lot of items at the swap shop that are just still there from years prior provenance even. And
Yeah.
it's not
That-
wrong, so we need to reevaluate some of our.
But you know
systems as
what,
well.
that is no longer true. I don't know the last time Jackie went to the transfer station, I know you haven't been because of the weather and transportation. We periodically go through the whole place and we house clean.
I bet I could find some of my blue marked lamps in there though. Cause I marked items with a blue
You,
paint.
you can show up and provide witness, but the reality of the fact is that we really do clean it out because we have, once again, no storage.
yeah,
So we have any quiet time and we can get in there, we do house clean.
yeah.
So this is just silly. We need storage, beginning and end of conversation. It solves so many problems.
Yeah, no one disagrees with that, it's just a matter of appropriately making sure.
Yeah, but
we're
I'd like it to be higher on the scale. I'd like Jackie to.
Is there any chance that if we put something out to the public, that we were looking for something like a pod, that people use when they're building or moving or whatever? Is there any chance that maybe somebody would say, oh, I've been looking for a place to get rid of that?
I guess we can certainly, we can enhance our communication on this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Right now, we've been doing stuff for various NGOs. There's a woman that shops for the military that's stationed on Cape because they show up and they
Oh,
have
good.
nothing.
Okay,
And Barbara shops for them. We have provided stuff for teachers that want stuff for classrooms.
Mhm.
We've provided stuff for recent immigrants that come here with nothing. Part of our charter is to actually handshake with NGOs and provide that. We would love to do that. We have stuff that people would love to get. So that's part of our original charge, and it would be really nice to make good on that. That just requires further outreach and, consistent lines of communication where if people
Yeah.
need stuff, they get in touch with us and we look for it.
Yeah, I think we also have to make more than like handshake deals with some of those companies to officially have a.
Right,
system
but,
in place.
but until we have storage, it's
Yeah, of course.
as we get access to it.
Of course.
So we can standardize a lot of these things and institutionalize them if we have a place to put stuff. And reach out and say, okay, you need a bed, you need dishes, you need small furniture, you need small appliances. All that stuff comes through, very often in duplicate, and if we can stash that stuff, we can step that up.
yeah,
So the Homeless Prevention Council might be a good connection to make for us in that area. And
Absolutely, absolutely.
the pod comment, you mentioned pods earlier, mostly those are usually rented. So those are
Right,
rented
right.
units that people
Yeah, they
don't.
charge you to drop it there and, to either move it or deal with it while you're dealing with your moving, decisions.
And the town has, like I said, the town may have inventory that they could just give us one, that way we'd have.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about it being like a pod that someone may have had and then it turns out they have a key to it and then it becomes then another thing emerges that becomes a headache.
A clean shipping container, a long one, a tall one, what they call new, which means it has a floor and is very clean, costs in the area of $3,000 to $4,000.
So two.
That is chump change
Yeah.
against all this.
What,
They're vendors.
What's
If
the-
you go on
what's the-
Craigslist,
oh, okay.
they're vendors all over the place, from Boston down the entire coast that will, I don't know what delivery costs are. I don't imagine they're that
Yeah.
much more, but that's the drop dead price of a nice, clean, big shipping container. You know, they're angels in the community I may reach out to, but I'm still waiting to hear back from the town. But to me, that's a very small price to step up our game.
And in that nature, we're gonna update a lot of the branding at the swap shop, even with, once if we can get the barriers up, that'll give us a place to put signs, I'm gonna start putting signs, and I'll get them, we'll get them printed up and stuff like that when we do that. It won't be like this kind of stuff, it'll be like, we do not accept, and we'll probably form a subcommittee to discuss all of those items of what we should and shouldn't accept for safety reasons and liability reasons, and it'll be really long, boring, tedious meetings, so we'll have to figure that out at some point. But
You
Yeah.
really know how to sell it, Andrew.
He does.
I know what it is, cause it's basically like regulatory committees
Yeah.
meeting about like the nature, you know, it's like,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's gonna, somebody has to do it at
Oh,
some
yeah.
point.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
so we can lock down the cause in my mind, we're asking for a lot from the town. And if we have the documents to show that we're ready for it, they'll believe us.
Yeah,
So that's kind of
Yeah.
why I'm like, I have a handbook that's pretty well gone through. I would like to add a little more to it, cause it's just very minor. You know, I'd like to have a list of all the NGOs we're gonna work with in there, things like that. That would be like a nice orientation packet for someone who wants to volunteer. Because that's another thing we need is volunteers. We're going to be desperate, I think, in the next 3 to 5 years for volunteers down there. So I'm working on some ideas and I'm talking to actually some people that I know that might be able to like hook me up with people who are gonna be needing volunteer hours for various things.
yeah.
So in that vein, we should probably move on to communication. So I know that you sent an email to everybody, it was to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Okay, about the communication, I think you had a lot of great points in there, a lot of great stuff in there. To be honest, it was a little while back, do you mind reciting some of that for refreshing? Just
Yeah.
also for the minutes of the record?
Yeah, so the first thing I did, I printed out a little bit, was, I created a website which would list all the stuff the swap shop
Oh, cool.
accepts, doesn't accept, what's good, and because sometimes people are confused by what you can put in plastic and mixed paper, can we put, you know, like the glossy wrapping paper, that kind of thing, so it would have a longer list. So I took what I could find from the swap shop things and from compost, what we accept and don't accept, and so I've been building the website. And, you know, it's not on the town website, so I guess it kind of has to be unofficial.
Andrew knows more about that aspect of it. I know it was brought up.
Can you just make, put an announcement on the town web, not the Eastham Recycles Facebook
I don't
page?
wanna get too deep into the town website, there has been some talk of that, cause the recycling committee is also, we're the recycling committee. The climate action committee is also requesting some changes to the town website, and it turns out the town's using like a template software, like the town version of a Squarespace type of thing. So the website, because they may not have somebody who is capable of development, to develop the things that they need, I don't know, that may be the case, that may not be the case,
Yeah.
but what I'm trying to do is, since I've been going to these meetings and talking to them, whatever changes there, I'm gonna try to tailor anything we may want that kind of is in there. I did point out several of these things to the same people in that committee, so maybe seems like it's an issue that they're clear as well,
Yeah.
like, there's no way to, because apparently we're not allowed to use Facebook. The town has a Facebook, if we wanna make an announcement, we have to make it the town Facebook, unofficial of Facebook is not allowed. So.
There is a town Facebook page?
Evidently there is, so if we wanna announce something, it has to be through the town Facebook, again, that's the way the town wants the communication, so. There's some complications there that we'll have to figure out, maybe some areas, but they're also struggling, it was one main point in their meeting as well that they talked about is communication, so. They're trying to find new avenues, I know we're trying to find new avenues, but just wanna make sure we're aware that apparently we can't use the Facebook. But the website, we may be able to direct people to through our literature.
Yeah,
I have access to the EPERTA, the Eastham Part-Time Resident Taxpayer Association website. And we'd be more than happy to share communications from the committee to all of the non-residents, the part-time residents who might not even access the.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to undertake that.
thank you. I would like, I don't want to announce this anywhere until other people have looked at it
Yeah,
and
right,
see what
right.
I need to build up,
Right.
on it, but all of these different categories, they have something started, so I would really appreciate it if, I mean, again, for now, it's Eastham, we have our own URL, easthamrecycling.org. And I will call it unofficial,
I love that logo with the white.
The logo?
White House in the middle.
yeah,
I like that a lot.
thank you.
Our members start to drift back to Eastham, March, April, thereabouts.
Yeah.
So if I get that, sometime in February, it'd be a good time to put it out.
Okay, that sounds good.
A
No,
useful,
that's right.
a useful fact sheet to have when you're coming back to Eastham to, just remind you what you can and can't do.
Yeah,
Yeah, Andrew,
Yes.
we talked about this, Gary, you might remember at one point, and we were shut down about a website. So I would just get clarification from the town that we're allowed to go rogue and do our
Yeah.
unofficial own thing, just so we don't get into
yeah,
any
it's why I know
legal
Yeah, that's-
troubles.
that's-
for anywhere, she just put together prototypes essentially at this point, but you're
Yeah,
right, I know
yeah, I
that's
know,
something
I
I
know.
gotta figure out like officially, cause. One of the things that I brought up as a problem with the town website is there's no way to announce anything for us. Like if I said, they're like, hey, we're doing this thing, like it may come up if they select us to be in one of those like five, they can only have 5 topics come in that thing though at a time. So unless we're one of the days 5, and it's not changed every day, like all the time, we may not be able to be in there while like almost, I wanna say Twitter, because Twitter doesn't exist anymore, but Blue Sky, you don't even know if Blue Sky is a Twitter replacement.
Mhm.
Basically,
Right.
you can self-host these. It's like, it's your own little Twitter feed. The town could have one, and then every committee could have its own Twitter handle, sorry, Blue Sky handle, that then it would announce it. I know we have one of those. And the town website could be that community bulletin board. But as of now, the town's website doesn't function really as a very good bulletin board. You have to like hunt for things. Like town meetings aren't really in the front.
And
They're
if you-
like, you have to go to them.
If you search, like, if you click on the transfer station, if you click on like one of the brochures, it takes you to 2021 brochure.
Yeah.
I
So
know.
it's-
Right.
It's, to me, it's just impossible. So my feeling with this is if the town refuses to allow it, hey, I'm a private citizen
Yeah,
and I can collect whatever information I find online
and drive people
and,
to
Just
it.
host
and
it
do
and-
it,
yeah,
and do it. Like, it
absolutely.
doesn't have to be, like, I'll take off like Eastham.
You don't even have to.
Eastham Recycles is my own.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
name.
that would just be something we
I
could
just won't
refer
say
to your
Eastham
local,
Recycling
your local
Committee.
organization.
Eastham Recycling Committee on
Yeah.
it.
Right.
So, I mean, that, for me, that's,
I'm all about the loopholes.
I wanna do this as my own, because this is the kind of project I love to do.
Yeah, and
So,
I wouldn't wanna stop that anyway.
and but to not make it an official announcement
Yeah,
on the
right.
website is fine, I
Yeah,
mean, that's. And so then with that, like I said, I did set up the unofficial Facebook, I understand what you're saying, let me finish. The Instagram and Blue Sky.
Yeah, I only wanted to say something so that
I-
for
no,
some
no,
reason, no one posted anything and that would get us into some kind of hot water before we even started anything. That's the only reason I was
Right.
just disclaiming it in the meeting. I know I'm not.
And
against-
so
I'm
I can,
against
but then I
social
can bring it,
justice,
but then I can bring it back to tie it with this.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
not with the town and not
Correct.
say anything
I
about
think
the
that that's the
recycling
safer
committee.
bet.
And that's fine. I mean, I think that's fine. I mean, if
I
you
don't have a
have,
problem with it.
okay.
And if someone wants to yell, I'll just, okay, we didn't know. And that's what
Yeah.
I'll say, I'll play dumb.
And I can, as
I could do
a,
that.
and I can.
You just
put
gave it up.
I don't
I
care.
mean, is that how the swap shop is working? It's really just,
Well, that's the problem. I mean, the
It's-
swap shop
it's-
has an unofficial Facebook.
I know.
And that was kind of one of my rubs when I was in my meeting with Jackie. I was like, they have like this whole thing going on and there's no like.
I love it.
It's Joe Rossetti,
I know, it's
you
Joe.
know, and it's there.
Yeah, I mean, and part of the information I'm taking for this is off, hey, we want egg cartons this week, or hey, we're not taking any handled paper bags this week, or.
Yeah,
whatever.
that's where it's
Right.
like the rules the town has seemed to be laying out. It doesn't seem like they're really adhering to them themselves, which is where it's like, we may be able to play in the gray a little bit
Yeah.
here and say like, well, when you guys crack down on that one, we'll worry about the rest.
And
And
so,
then that may piss off enough people that they won't do it. At least that's my hope.
if I have enough. Right.
And then I feel like newsletters, you don't have to worry about. You can send out all the newsletters you want. I can give you access to our email if you want them to come from the recycling committee.
Well, again, and this is not complete, there's still some.
Yeah,
holes
and some
in it.
Laurel Nipson in there. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, yeah. But this would be kind of the idea behind what it would look like.
Yeah.
But I would take my personal logo off and use whatever logo you wanna have as the
Well, to be honest, you're
official.
not too far off from the logo I was developing for our increased communication. So instead of using a lighthouse, I use a windmill.
Okay,
Only difference. So actually keep it a lighthouse for yours.
for mine, but for the newsletter.
Yeah, we'll
I
get,
don't wanna have the newsletter, if this has to be unofficial, I don't wanna make it.
correct, that's what I'm
confusing.
saying, keep the lighthouse for the,
Yeah.
whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
and then we'll use the other one for official stuff.
Yeah. Okay, and
And I just stole that off the banner, to be honest, I had a banner printed with it on.
I use ChatGPT.
Great stuff, Green. Great stuff.
And so then, some of the other things that went along with that are, well, I mean, I wrote the other ideas and I sent it out on, I don't have enough of these, but, just other ideas I had about things to do. And definitely the board at the dump, Lee reached out to me and said, hey, it's time to update it. And I said, I agreed to put the stuff in my house. I didn't agree to do the updating of it. I am not a artsy craftsy.
I know, I
I'm a
just wanna-
computer person, not a,
Well, here's what I wanna do, I wanna put that, I got a poster version of this made. And I was waiting more or less to have the ability to hang it in there, and then Lee hung up a poster in there, which has been in there since, and so I just left it go, but I wanna hang that in
okay.
there.
But remember, I have in my closet boxes of letters and
Yeah,
tape.
letter
and
set and all kinds of stuff.
I have all of the stuff that Lee had in her house.
Oh, man.
That's
Not
why I
all of her
couldn't
stuff.
find it in the
Just-
next.
All right.
That's
This
why
is
she
good.
wasted
told me
trip.
that she left it in the vestibule, and I couldn't find it for the life of me. Is
Oh,
that-
I have
How
an
many
email.
sets you got?
Yeah, yeah.
What?
Did you leave it in the vestibule
No,
upstairs?
no, I went over, I told her I went over to her house. I went over to her house and picked it up.
Okay,
She said she
well,
left the box for me in the vestibule, and we can't find.
Oh, no, this wasn't a box. This was a lot of stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
So maybe there was another box.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, I have one of these that's in a large poster
So-
format we can put in there.
So the key is at the booth.
Yeah,
right.
Okay, I just don't, and I have all this stuff, and so it would be a good idea. And I was thinking if with the newsletter, if the theme for the board, I mean, not completely, but the theme could go along with the monthly newsletter theme.
Yep.
And
yeah, we have to keep in mind, I don't know if you looked at the poster in the board, because of the way the new box is, nothing in there really ages well.
yeah, I saw that.
So we need to keep it, that's why I did this, because it's laminated, I got it printed at Staples, it's UV coated, so it'll in theory last the whole year. Instead of updating it every month, since it's sort of just like a box down there, I thought we could put this in, something like this in there to kind of educate people, and then we develop other ones,
I mean,
then we could do it, sure. I don't wanna treat it like a bulletin board, because no one seems to read it.
if it changes, they might.
It's true, they might. Yeah,
And that's what I'm saying, not to take the whole thing for that kind of display, but like at least some part of it, they can have something monthly. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it really depends. If it's paper, I just don't think it'll last more than a weekend. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
I understand.
Especially if it's a rainy week or something, it just won't fold up. That's my only concern with just putting paper in there. That's why I thought, let's just laminate something and stick it in there, because that whole box was like Lee's project from the day that she started with this committee until she left.
Yeah.
That getting the new box was the project, but like, I don't know if, I just don't know if people use it. We can try putting something in there, see if people stop and read it, but just the location to me is
Well-
like, it's something you can see from far away, then you'd probably be the only thing you really view.
And so one other idea is like to have one of those, please take one. Boxes, whether at the swap shop or next to the board for copies of the newsletter.
We could easily do that with some of the rebranding I wanna do on the swap shop, cause I wanna put signs up and things like that.
Yeah.
Easily we could put like, I wanna put a suggestion box out somewhere, that's,
Yeah.
it's asking a lot, cause there could be all kinds of wild things in there, but. I feel like if people feel like they have a say, they may actually be more inclined to participate.
And part of the suggestion box would go along with my other thought was, if you have questions, ask, and put it in there, we can answer questions in the newsletter. like
Yeah, I have
Dear
no problem
Abby.
putting a display specifically for the recycling committee at the swap shop,
Okay.
that way at least we can keep an eye on it and keep it stocked, if it's at the box. I don't always go to the swap shop, I know John's mostly always there, but like, if I'm not there, if somebody's not there to change it out, it could sit empty for days. Well, if it's at the swap shop, at least when it's out.
Cause
Those are the
that's
people-
where all the traffic is and that's
That's where all
where
the
somebody
people
can
are
actually
anyway.
I know,
stop and read
absolutely.
something as opposed,
Absolutely.
you know, so two
Absolutely.
anecdotal things about the swap shop, the unofficial town center. If you're running for any kind of board in the town and you need your signatures, you go
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, for
Don't
sure.
waste your time at Stop and Shop, don't go to town hall.
Right.
You go to the swap shop, I've seen people get 100 signatures in 25 minutes.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's,
Sure.
That's all.
Also, you wanna know something that happened in town, you'll know about, like, I knew about that fire at the Idle Times basically before it even happened. I was like, how did I just rode here and I already knew about it, and I rode by it, so like, I knew it was just happening, so I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
yeah, my husband was driving by when the flames were coming out.
Right.
I saw the smoke and I was just
Yeah.
like, okay, something's happening there, and then I got to the swap shop, and they're like, did you see the Item Times
Yeah.
on fire? And I'm like, no, I saw smoke, but now I know, like, you know, it's
Yeah.
quick,
It is,
info is a great place to get there, that's what I love about it.
yeah, but so is Facebook. I mean, the earthquake, I heard about the earthquake, everyone was talking about the earthquake 2 seconds after it happened.
Yeah,
Anyway, so, you know, your idea of posting pictures of furniture, we could have a space here for that, and so I'll keep working on it. If it's not absolutely, let's not follow this.
yeah, I mean, let's make it like a side project for now, just as like we'll see what we can do with it without stepping on the toes of the town. I have to find out what the specific rules are. The
Yeah.
problem is a lot of times I gotta ask 3 or 4 people to get the full story.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to the recycling or the climate action committee, because they're the ones that originally said that there's they gotta worry about it too. And maybe they'll already know, and I don't have to do the work twice. I'll just talk to Tom and say like, what do you guys know about this situation?
Yeah,
And he'll tell me if he knows, and then that way we don't have to try to find out from a bunch of people. And if we can do it, we will, and if we can't, then we'll just use it idly or, you know, do it passively or whatever we wanna do. In that same vein, like I said, if you want access to the email to send out those newsletters, I can give you the access. So it's like coming from the official recycling committee versus like your own personal or a separate email that you have to work
Yeah,
on.
yeah, okay.
Just because I know I mean,
No, it should come from the.
yeah, that's what I kind of
If
thought.
it's
So
gonna be an
I'll-
official newsletter, it should come from an official.
Don't remember when I made the password, but I'll work on figuring out giving me access.
Okay,
And I know it's not one of my passwords because it's not like 27 characters long. It's a normal password. I just don't remember what it is.
Okay.
And then, and the last thing I want to talk about is I want to try to see if we can try to figure out, and I just want ideas, not executing anything this year, but maybe some fundraising for the swap shop as well. And like we can do something that kind of builds towards Windmill Weekend. Again, small things, large things. I'm up for any ideas to raise money that doesn't contribute trash. We're not just ordering tchotchkes on the internet to then
Yeah.
sell or give to people that are like, I mean, as long as I'm good with merch in some aspects. In fact, that actually reminds me, Lee left a gift for everybody. Produce bags if anyone wants them.
hey. Oh,
Bless her little heart.
hey.
It's frightening
Awesome.
being in her house.
I bet,
Over 300
Okay.
pieces of art, that's the.
but, yeah, I wanna try to do some fundraising and I don't wanna sell tchotchkes, but like, if you guys have ideas that are like, not sell rather, but like give away tchotchkes or promote items like that are just plastic.
Yeah.
Unless they're like locally 3D printed from recycled plastic, I'll make that extreme exception because I'm working on trying to do that myself. I just need to get the 3D printing situation has been a bit amorphous at the moment, so it's
yeah,
tough.
I mean, you could logo these, or,
They don't even necessarily have to be, I mean, logo would be ideal, you're right,
be
but.
fun, or, you know, the composting bags.
Mhm.
And then, you know, I've seen a couple of times, people really want a countertop compost container. Someone had one that was plastic and someone else is like, no more plastic.
I have one that's like a green little plastic one I started off with.
Yeah, I have a stainless steel one, but if there's some way to make that affordable and it's a
Mhm.
fundraiser,
Oh, is a take home that you can actually use, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Although, you know, sort of like the workflow in my house, because we have 2 compost bins and stuff, is that all the stuff that we can't compost, bones, animal fat and stuff, goes in one of those compostable bags in my freezer. And when I remember to bring it to the transfer station, it goes in the black earth containers.
Okay, so compost bags, I'm hearing. Now, that's not a sellable item, I mean, maybe it is.
well, if the bins, if we could find the bins in a way that was,
The bag,
Yeah, it's not.
that bag, probably not, it's
No.
probably washable. So you can,
That's a fabric bag, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good, as a giveaway, I guess if we order a large enough amount, we can sell them in theory at a low cost and then make it just a tiny slight amount.
I mean, maybe that's not a good fundraiser, but maybe
or
it's a
you could
good
use them for
giveaway.
grocery shopping.
I mean, I'm looking for
Right, well, I
fundraisers,
think that's what it's
giveaways,
for.
anything like that will
Instead of-
work, yeah.
Pulling
glass-
bags
I
out
don't,
of
yeah,
the
don't
grocery
use
store.
plastic. That's what I use.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I have to have ideas right this minute, it's just something for everyone to think about in the back of their minds. I've been trying to think of a couple different fundraisers, I have ideas, I just don't know how even to remotely execute them in this area.
Mm.
You know, like we could do in theory like a fix it fair where we have like local people come out that have all kinds of equipment that can fix weird obscure items.
I think that's a great.
And have people donate when they come, they don't have to charge.
The last one that was done in the county was completely oversubscribed. So there's.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
It was what?
Completely oversubscribed.
Oh, gotcha.
They took reservations and the reservations were filled instantly.
Yeah.
So there's certainly a need for that. If we have enough, you know, citizens in town that are retired that, you know how to fix X, Y, and Z, it would be incredibly popular.
Yeah, and I wanna work with, like I said, the local tech school they wanna do one with like 3D printers and all that jazz, that
Mm,
they
the
can like
makers.
repair things.
The makers.
Yeah, the maker space type stuff, so like I wanna
They've
do
got
something like
makers
that.
on us.
I'm myself a maker, so like it's just kind of, that seems like a good idea to kind of get people, again, people may come and not even do anything, just wanna see it, and then they donate or they get interested in it and get involved.
Mhm.
It's like a kind of like a promo and fundraising, and I'm not really necessarily interested in raising large amounts of money. I just figured if as long as it's a slight benefits for the swap shop and then brings awareness to what we're trying to accomplish with it, that's kind of both goals accomplished. Again, nothing, no pressure, but
I think that would be incredibly popular.
like a maker fair or
Because
a repair
what you
fair.
hear so often is people saying they make things just so that they
Break.
break.
Well,
Yeah.
my thing is too,
Yeah.
like with the tariffs that are possibly happening in the next couple of years, it could be harder to get things. So repairing may become the
Oh, yeah.
requirement. I mean, I know that's something we fight with companies over, a right to repair. But even older rigs that come in the swap shop, some of them are kind of destined for the trash, and I'm like, if I had the right equipment, time and resources, could fix them up and make them look a little nicer, and then they would
Yeah.
be items that would be no
Sure.
problem sitting out, especially like coffee makers. Everybody brings their coffee maker, it's filthy. It all really take is elbow grease, but we don't have the time to clean 10 coffee makers every other day.
Yeah.
Bring them with coffee in sometimes. That's not a joke, that's actually happening.
No,
Like, they
that-
made
that-
coffee
that-
this morning
that's
and they
sad
brought
for
it
the
in.
day. That was the item of shame.
Yeah.
What was?
Somebody brought a coffee maker with this much coffee and it just left it there. They
Yeah, like
said
they
it works
made
fine.
coffee
We
in
went,
the morning. They tested
No.
it or something and then brought it in.
Oh my
I don't know.
God.
They
No.
have the grounds and everything in it.
no, it would be nice to train people that the way to bring stuff is this something that we should be concerned with?
No, he just, he's not no longer remotely called.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, no pressure today, it's just like stuff
Yeah.
I wanna kind of do, cause I think in this year, since we're kind of like in a holding pattern with waiting for what's gonna happen with the swap shop, while I'm gonna be the squeakiest, most annoying wheel to get that thing put in a location. And to the point where someone's gonna be like, get out, like, that's how far I'll go to get it, like, just give them a location to shut them up, great.
Yeah,
And then we can push forward on that project. Until then, we're gonna try to, I think, rodeo up with the Climate Action Committee on their programs, because a lot of overlap with what we're doing already. They have a lot of they're trying to get money, and if we can get a little of that to benefit our thing and then to contribute to those overall goals,
yeah.
it's win-win. So I think that the 2025 year is gonna be a lot of swap shop focus, but with an avenue towards this whole like climate action plan thing that they're trying to do, because it's trying to like overhaul the whole town.
Yeah.
And then we're part of the town, so why would we want to be part of it?
Right.
And then
Is
if
there
we
any way-
also-
Is there any way we
Yes.
can get the residents to start lobbying for the swap shop? Lobbying for
Funny
it?
You should mention that. At Andrew's meeting, Jackie brought up only the complaints. Because bad news travels much faster than good. Anecdotally, my survey of people dropping stuff off at the swap shop, I would say 90% of the people say, thank you very much, we're really glad you're doing it. So my wife grabbed some emails and was like, do we want to start doing a campaign to spread the good news as opposed to the bad news?
'Cause I
And
bet that,
it might be a very useful thing to do going forward to apply a little pressure.
I think part
I
of the
bet that
problem
not that many residents know that maybe the swap shop is gonna get moved. It sounds like it could conceivably be made to disappear. And I think if people realize that it isn't gonna be nice and safe and tucked away where we can come there and go and socialize with our friends and schmooze and so on, I think they might get a little pissed off.
Well, I think
Oh, and
that's
it's
where,
we have an election year coming up, I believe. There's some seats up.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, so it would be nice to spread the good news as well as the bad.
and I think part of that is because a lot of the swap shop news has traveled through Facebook, which tends to focus more on the negative aspects of things. I don't know, I haven't been on Facebook in years, but I don't remember it being a positive place when I left. I can't imagine it's gotten better. I
Yeah,
know
but
that,
Jackie gets her information from the people that send reviews about bad things at the transfer
we
station.
don't know where she gets any information. I just know that, I do know that there are members of people who are on the boards that come in to bring negative news. They don't come in to bring positive news that I've ever seen. I'm not gonna say anybody's name, I'm just saying, people
Yeah.
come in to bring negative news off Facebook. They don't come in to bring positive news off Facebook. So that's probably some of the perception. Some of the reason I wanna do these events is because we can print up posters or slides essentially that say information about the swap shop. And then people are knowing that's why they're there. They're not really there for this. They're there to bring attention to the swap shop. And then it's sponsored by the recycling committee and therefore also the swap shop. I mean, we have to forget, we're, I think part of what got lost in translation is we are the swap shop. We're the committee that administers it by the charge.
Right.
So I feel like if we do an event, we should say this is also the swap shop, which I think is also gonna help raise awareness. I mean, in my branding, my error, I didn't mention the swap shop on here at all.
Yeah.
I should have.
Mhm.
So like, that's something we should probably tailor a little bit more of our branding towards.
Well,
and-
especially since it's a recognized category in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's technically a recycling center.
Right, right.
And then the other thing I'd like to do is when now that we have if we gain the ability to track some of these things, we can say the swap shop reduces solid waste by XYZ a year. And then again, that's people knowing that the swap shop's doing something and not just a bunch of people fighting over
Right.
second-hand items,
Yeah.
which is what some of the perceptions of it is. And, you know, it may be that to a degree, but the thing is, I think we can pivot as well. I don't want it to just be tchotchkes because in another 5 to 10 years, how much tchotchkes are gonna be available?
Might have to change our name. Recycling committee and swap shop committee, no, recycling and swap shop committee.
It's amazing
Right.
though, how much, I mean, I volunteer at the Katie's Corner, which is a sort of a thrift, not for money.
I know
shop.
Katie's Corner, we talked about it at my meeting with Jackie.
Okay,
So yeah, I mean, you guys come to the swap shop to get items, am I right?
no,
Oh, you
the
don't?
people bring stuff to us.
Oh, really?
Where
From the swap
I'm
shop?
cleaning
No.
at my house, where do I take this
No, I
stuff?
take my own personal stuff there all the time.
You know, I mean, one of
Oh, yeah.
the reason it came up is one of the topics that like, I know that again, it causes some negative feelings with certain people is people come to the swap shop to take items to those places to sell. Like to the secondhand stores that you're talking about.
Oh, yeah,
Katie's Corner
no,
is like, isn't that a secondhand, it's not like a consignment shop?
no,
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 people
No.
pay nothing, to walk out the door with stuff.
Oh, okay, so
it's an
basically
extension of the
same
swap
thing.
shop, basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
Same concept.
And then that's why I understand why they talked about other locations for the swap shop, because there's basically other ones already
but
existing.
it's more, clothes and linens than.
Then hard goods.
stuff.
kitchen utensils, I mean, I've seen
It doesn't have-
whole sets
Katie's
of
Corner?
dishes
I was thinking it's the-
come in and go out
No,
in the period of an hour.
Okay,
It's
I didn't know
amazing.
they did so much of the housewares as the,
Well, if we get them, they go.
okay.
And you get all that stuff solicited by donations as well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I don't know anything about the administrative end of it. So I don't know what happens upstairs. It's all part of Lower Cape Outreach. So, you know, I don't know that part. but-
Okay, well, I mean, it's good to know, because like I said, we talked about some of these like local places that come and get stuff, and I have. Personally, I got no qualms with it, because it means it's not ending up in the trash stream.
Exactly.
Anything that prevents ending up in the trash stream is the goal.
Oh, yeah.
My personal feelings are aside on that, because personally, I think our business should be able to acquire its own goods. But as a community,
Yeah.
it is a way to acquire goods.
Yeah.
So as long as it's not ending up in the trash stream, that's kind of the rule we have.
Mhm.
A couple
Well,
things we want to.
doesn't, I mean, FACOA comes in, FACOA takes stuff,
Who's this?
FACOA. The Friends of the Eastham Council on Aging.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, oh,
Council
okay,
on
yeah,
Aging,
yeah.
that was the one we were discussing mainly, I thought that Katie's Corner was like that, where it's like a council on aging, where they come and get stuff. I
And-
mean,
and they're
we used to shop
tentatively
For them and somebody else.
Moving to the Idle Times bike old location in front of local break.
The COA or their
Yeah.
thrift shop, you mean?
Well, Jackie keeps trying to sell them on it, and they always have more stuff than they can store, and it's a much, it's a much better location for any kind of commerce. There's parking
Yeah,
and there's space, which is not in evidence at the council, thrift shop. It's teeny.
no.
Yeah, and one of the things that we talked about with moving, if we were in a new location,
Mhm.
if it was larger, we would add the repair shop as part of the service with volunteers, and then the town would have to buy some of the equipment rather, because it wouldn't be a fair so much as it would have some things on deck. And then that part of it would be restoration and repair of items that come into the shop to then keep them going out. Then it may change though, you may not be able to go in and get things for another store because we're putting time and effort and money into those items.
Oh, yeah.
So that could change it. I mean, I was there just kind of spitballing 1,000 ideas to just kind of show that like we've been trying to come up with stuff. Give us some direction and we'll go in it,
Yeah.
and, you know, give us a place, we'll find it or we'll use it. Cause I kind of went with I was gonna ask for more than I needed and I'll take what they give us and make the best out of it.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what I wanted, so I thought if I just shoot every idea,
Sure.
they may give us more, you may go, hey, we'll give you all this stuff, and then I don't know what we'll do, I have another meeting, I guess, to talk about it. But,
Oh, well.
yeah, that's kind of where I was trying to focus 2025, I mean, that's a little bit of December too that we didn't talk about, so that
Yeah.
covered all that. But if anyone has any questions or anything further, new business wise, let us know.
Gary, did you want to talk about the meeting? The redish?
Yeah, it was pretty much the redish, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it spent a lot of time on the redish concept. And, I think I told you,
Redish?
redish. So redish,
yeah,
right now they're mostly schools
Okay.
and they bring clean trays and utensils and then they take them back and clean them and bring them back. So it's kind of what you would think of as takeout, like schools used to have these,
Mhm.
you know, reusable ones and then they
Disposable
don't.
forks or-
But now they've gone to disposable stuff and it just gets thrown. And so redish comes in and is much more sustainable. But they're
It's
not,
Forks for Alicia, but she already got them.
they're not ramped up to be able to do
Yeah.
takeouts for restaurants.
no, I don't see it as cost efficient to do
Yeah.
that, not for them.
But I wonder if the Nauset schools have.
Oh.
Well, I don't know what they do. I don't know what if they have their own dishwashers and don't need to do
But it's a
that.
beginning, it's really a beginning, and I think there's a organization out on, it's either Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard, and I think it's simply called Reuse. And they do go to the restaurants and pick up their dirty containers and bring them back and wash them and bring them back to them.
Those are not uncommon companies. When I worked in catering for weddings, when we did like weddings at places that were on location, we didn't take all of our silverware. We just rented a box that
Yeah.
had plates,
Yeah,
silverware, cups, everything. It was on trays that kind of go in the dishwasher, so
Yeah.
we probably just returned them, like, I don't know if I didn't pack up at the end of the night, but they probably went in there and just get sent back to get cleaned. Just like that, so I mean, they can't be that uncommon, because I lived in the middle of nowhere and they had one.
Yeah, but these were, they're, they have the kind of the trays that school lunches come on, like
Yeah.
really geared towards
Oh,
what
gotcha, yeah.
a school lunch would be, and that was interesting. And then one other thing was mentioned on the call that I don't remember who said it, but trying to get restaurants to reduce black plastic in their takeout containers, because it's
Yeah.
not recyclable, is another. I mean, even if we can't get rid of the single-use plastic, can we get rid of,
Mhm,
figure out how to have them stop using black plastic as part of their.
Yeah, I mean, ideally pushing one of the three, the first 1, 2, or 3 plastics would be the ideal, I guess, right?
So just kind of out there ideas that
Yeah, no.
to think about.
Yeah, of course. That's what we're looking for, things that, all
Do,
kinds of-
do the school cafeterias, do they have, does anybody know? Alicia, you might know that if the school cafeteria has much leftovers at the end of the school day,
Leftovers meaning what?
Food?
food.
Yeah,
Of course they do. It's school, they're kids.
What do they do with it? What do they do with it?
So the high school Green Club has brought back silverware. So
Yeah,
our cafeteria washes silverware, so we don't do disposable anymore.
okay, great.
The Green Club is bringing in compost. So the trays that their kids are using right now are biodegradable. So Black Earth will be taking eventually all of that. So that's what that's what they're working on. And that's why I asked Jonathan for forks, because our custodians are so fantastic. They go fishing for forks in the garbage, on a
Bless
regular
their hearts.
basis. 'Cause sometimes kids forget, and that's where it lands, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I was wondering about the food
Yes, it's
itself,
food.
that might be left over, that could
You mean
some,
usable food as opposed to what could be compostable?
yes. That, you know,
Like
if
city
there are
harvest
kids,
and stuff
kids
like
that
that?
could bring, take-home containers in with their name on them, and they could get an extra helping of something that otherwise was gonna get thrown away.
Yeah, we don't have that much waste from the cafeteria per
Okay.
se.
Well, that's a good, that's a good thing.
Yeah, and we have a community bin with like fruits and, raisins and stuff like that, that kids
Okay.
can go throughout the day and
Ah.
grab, so.
Oh, that's great.
Good.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, they do generate 1,300 pounds of food waste a week.
How much?
1,300 pounds.
Wow.
But that's according to the Green Club's composting from when they previously composted. So the number may be different now, but that was what they were getting. That's what Black Earth is probably taking as well, because they're taking
Yeah.
4 containers. And if I
Wow.
remember correctly, the capacity of those containers, that would be 4 containers thereabouts.
Yeah.
Again, a week. So if we could get a digester though, that's all us. We could take that for a small fee to the, then have a
Sure.
digester.
We could also route stuff from other towns at a certain point if it's closer and cheaper than.
Well, that's the nice thing about the lure. I found these digesters. They look like propane tanks on their side. They're rounded on the ends. They spin instead of being stationary and having a thing inside of it that spins. The nice thing is the volume, the minimum volume, you can go down to a cubic meter, which means like if I had one in my yard, I can use it. That's
Yeah.
the size that it would be.
Yeah.
And it's powered by its own biogas. So as it breaks it down, it produces a gas that's flammable that feeds back into the system.
Very good.
All the meanwhile, it's also spinning, which makes it go faster
Yeah.
instead of having a thing that
wow.
agitates it, having dead zones.
Mhm.
So in theory, we could get like several of them and you just run them alternatingly in a fashion that makes sense for whatever schedule or system we want, rather than getting one big one and having to worry about capacity for it. Now it's like, okay, well, we can just go way under capacity and just worry about throughput. I
Yeah.
mean, capacity versus throughput are 2 different things. One's a giant tank and one's a bunch of small tanks. Much cheaper in some ways.
That's amazing.
Again, things
And if
like
one
that.
breaks, you're not out of business.
Correct, and that's that's things we're gonna work with the climate plan with, to not this committee specifically, I mean, our subcommittee maybe, but. Yeah, that's where like that school stuff may get handy for us, because like it's a justification of, we have the capacity
Mhm.
to fill it. And make dirt that then is also invasive free, because that's the issue with the the
Yeah.
dirt is invasive. It wasn't lilies in the valley, I forget what it was,
But there's enough of them.
but there's enough, the invasive, whatever invasive
Heat
it
is the
was.
only thing that will sanitize that
Bittersweet,
stuff,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, what's that?
Bittersweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember
That's
what
tough.
invasive it was, because
Yeah,
I was
but
like,
but
oh,
they're way more than that,
yeah.
you know?
Oh, weed.
But
Poison ivy.
I can't remember what it was, but it was something that wouldn't get killed by composting in general.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
when you get the dirt, you put it in your garden, all you're growing is invasives.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why people say don't take, I might have a
Do-
fungus
do-
actually, now that I think of
Do,
that.
do the throughput through goats actually sanitize the stuff they eat? Anybody knows?
Do what?
Well, when goats eat knotweed and bittersweet and those things,
Oh, do the
And poison
seeds
ivy.
survive, is what you're asking?
yes,
I don't know.
depends on the coating of the seed.
I would imagine it depends on the seed,
Yeah,
depends on
yeah.
the goat probably too.
Hmm.
It's a good question though, because I mean, that's another way that would be able to reduce it. If you didn't have access, you could get
Well,
goats.
that's what we keep trying to push, the power company to do, because
Mhm.
every 3 or 4 years, we have an unregulated, amount of Roundup and all this horrible stuff,
Oh, yeah.
because, is it Eversource or,
It's Eversource. I
yeah,
think. I don't-
I've been to several meetings and,
Spring bug.
Could be
and
National Grid.
borne witness, because Eversource goes,
So,
we need to be able to clear the stuff around people's property and in the right of way. And then they have people that have no idea about administration, just spraying the stuff haphazardly.
Yeah.
And the fact that we live in a very, very small closed system doesn't seem to occur to the Eversource executives. Let's do it on a place where the aqua filter goes right through the sand to where your drinking water is. Excellent idea.
Duh.
Yeah, and every 3 or 4 years, we have to You have to go give testimony to some state board about why they should not be doing that. And they usually prevail, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah,
There's a local landscaper, I forget her name, who's totally on top of this stuff.
Oh, yeah, she was the lady that put the big bill up at that town meeting.
Possibly.
Yeah, I remember that bill. I mean, I'm not gonna go into it.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, so basically those are like kind of our focus for the year. Like I said, ideas for fundraising, promo, events. I want to try to do, I think it's good to get out and show people about composting, but like at a certain point, like we can. Like I mentioned this in the climate action committee, at a certain point, like you can only educate people so much where like they have to come to you. You have to breadcrumb them to you. Otherwise, it's just like going out and being like, why aren't you composting? Why aren't you composting to people? And then they'll get a little annoyed with that. So I'm thinking we get events going and have them sort of come more to us and they don't scare them away and maybe they'll get involved a little more,
Yeah,
or
I
even
think
just
great
raise
idea.
awareness that we are part of the swap shop and
Yeah.
we wanna, we wanna make it nice. Make it nice, make it look new again.
Yeah.
Give it a swap shop for the new generation. So, get a plant table, get a produce table, get some people, all these people locally grow stuff in their gardens. Why are we swapping it at the swap shop?
plant sales would be a great.
I know, but everybody's already bringing in plants. We just want a plant table to make it look a little
Yeah.
nicer.
Yeah.
I know how many times I could probably bring in 30 Monstera plants because my wife grows them and they're all monstrous and so she's always cutting them down so that we can walk through them. And then of course they go into pots, which then turn into new Monsteras, which then grow to be monstrous size. So I could easily furnish Monsteras and several other varieties of plants
Yeah,
at
Yeah.
the swap shop. And I'm
Yeah.
sure many others could too,
oh, yeah,
So that's kind of what we're thinking of doing. I mean, again, the budget would be.
And we can
table.
host excess vegetables in August and stuff, like a place to bring your zucchinis and stuff,
Yeah. I'll bring peppers. I got lots of peppers growing. And garlic too. I grew garlic this winter. It did really well. So again,
And by the way, all those calendars that you get at the end of the year from all the organizations
Yes.
that you support, bring them to the swap shop, because believe it or not, we do a big business in those.
oh, yeah,
We have an elderly community that comes into the swap shop for moral support and comradeship, and they actually love those calendars.
Yeah.
If I had not seen this, I would not have had a clue,
Oh, yeah.
but
I am
probably schooled.
constantly amazed by some of the items that go with the swap
Yeah.
shop. And I originally was like, let's stop taking some of these items, but seeing that they still contribute in a way, it's more like, okay, let's figure out how to categorize these items and just continue to sort them a little differently.
Yeah.
And then that's where it was like, okay, well, let's
What an awesome
expand these
place,
items.
really.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there was this guy that brought in a framed tie. It was just a tie, like a normal tie, framed in a frame with some plaque for somebody. The guy that owned it passed away, his kids brought it in. Now, I thought, this is an item that's not gonna ever leave. Who wants an old sunburned, his son had clearly beaten it down. It was not a good looking tie. Somebody came and was like, it's a good conversation piece, and took it. And now, to me, I'm like, that's loony, but like, hey, it went, it didn't go in the garbage.
That's the kind of commerce we want.
Yeah, exactly. There's like somebody who found a use, and there's all kinds of things that happen like that. So if we can get these systems like
That's awesome.
tuned up a little bit, I think we would really get. I even want to put seating down there where people can just sit and hang out. Like I don't know how far we want to go, but in my mind, it's a community hub. Why fight it?
I don't think we should presume that there be any one thing that somebody wouldn't want. I mean, when we
Exactly.
thought our house was furnished with what we used to call Jetsons tables, these sort of futuristic, streamlined, really ugly tables. And as soon as we started furnishing, we'd bring them to the swap shop. I rarely got one from my car to the swap shop that somebody didn't take.
That's right. That's right. People.
And these are the ugliest tables I ever saw in my life.
I don't doubt it.
One person's junk.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
Exactly.
One person's trash is another's treasure, and that's where like, okay, well, let's turn it into a community hub and have more items.
Sure.
I mean, because my only qualm with what's coming in now is like my worry is it'll peter out as different generationals. I own very little tchotchkes, so if I died and my wife brought a box of stuff, it'd be notebooks and pens. It would be-
And Christmas tree shop
It's
closed.
gone. Yeah, so
So
like
that
it's
means
like.
we only have inventory at the swap shop for about the next 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. So once all those, because I mean, the number of times you could pick something up and it has a gold sticker that says Christmas tree shop on it again, it's
Oh,
also
I
pretty
know.
high.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, we gotta figure out what other items, and that's where it's like, if we could repair items, that would expand it, if we could do vegetables and plants. I mean,
I think that's
In
great.
theory, if you even go far enough, you could have a community garden behind there where people could just plant flowers and things like that or whatever. You never know how far it could go if you don't
Yeah.
try. And that's kind of
Yeah.
where it's like, if I can get all these ideas on a table and organize them, maybe we make it happen.
Yeah.
And that whole road, it seems to me like it could use some people going to it. It's an empty
Spruce it
road.
up.
Yeah, we're not spruce it up, but like I go down that road on my bike, I see maybe 2 cars all time, unless there's a line at the.
And which
transfer
way,
station.
which road are we talking about?
The one that goes to the transfer station.
Old Town
Bracket.
Road.
I never see anyone driving on that road really, unless there's a line at the transfer station. So it's like, why not embrace that? Put a whole space out there for people to stop to. It's just a big fence right now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Move the fence back, create an area, that way people can drive through, won't obstruct traffic, and then they can stop.
Are you guys
I don't
all set with the unofficial official business?
Yeah, this is
I'm gonna,
waxing about what we could do with this.
Yes,
workshop.
yes.
At this point, I guess we're adjourned.
Take care,
I'll motion
Lisa.
to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
there you go. Motion.
Take care of yourself.
It was nice to see you guys. Thank you.
I will see everyone on February 18th.